This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I want to talk about leadership, or lack thereof leadership. Donald Trump's lack of leadership. Donald Trump's lack of foresight. Donald Trump's lack of forward-looking. His lack of ability to show deference to experts, to epidemiologists, to immunologists, to scientists, to doctors, to physicians, to nurses, to healthcare professionals. He is ignoring all of the good advice from not only the World Health Organization, but also his own Centers for Disease Control. On the 23rd, he came out and talked about how he's getting ready to open up the economy, get people back to work right now in the face of the thing that we're facing that I try not to name because YouTube likes to demonetize like crazy. And in the midst, well, first of all, here he is. I'm going to play the clip. We'll play the clip. Very short. I'm not going to torture you with listening to his pumpkin head. This is Donald Trump talking about how we need to get everybody back to work in the face of this. In spite of the advice from all of the physicians, in spite of all the advice from the experts, he wants people to go back to work.
Our country wasn't built to be shut down. This is not a country that was built for this. It was not built to be shut down. America will again and soon be open for business, very soon, a lot sooner than 3 or 4 months that somebody was suggesting. A lot sooner. We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. We're not going to let the cure be worse than the problem.
Come on. Our country was not built to be shut down. No country is built to be shut down, dipshit. What else did he say? America will be, again and soon, be open for business. A lot sooner than 3 or 4 months that has been suggested. That suggestion is at the hands of experts in the field, knowing how this virus is going to transmit to others. So when idiot Donald Trump said this, of course, the right wing, it is the right wing, but the right wing moronalati took to Twitter. I'm going to read you 3 tweets. First is a deleted tweet from Buck Sexton, worst porn name ever. And Buck Sexton tweeted this boldly because, he's a bold conservative. And then because he's a coward, deleted it. He said, America is going to have to go back to work very soon, even if that means there are more casualties from COVID-19 that would occur under this continued extreme shutdown. It's a hard thing to say, but it is reality, and we need to accept and act on it. Such a hard thing to say that apparently he needed to delete the tweet. Coward. Buck Sexton. So, America's going to have to go back to work very soon, even if that means more casualties. That's a polite way, a sanitized way of saying thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not maybe millions, which has been a projected number from the CDC, will die. Deaths. Your family members, your friends, people you work with, people you know. Even though they're gonna die, we got to get back to work, everybody. Matt Walsh, a lapdog of Ben Shapiro, tweeted, and I'll give him credit, he didn't delete it. He said, I'm not an expert. Well, that should end it right there. I'm not an expert, but why wouldn't this work? Open up the economy. Let young and healthy people work and feed themselves and their families. Quarantine nursing homes. Tell other especially at-risk people to remain home for now. Test aggressively and quarantine the infected. By the way, as soon as Donald Trump said that, then this opinion was held. When Donald Trump was advocating for staying at home, self-quarantining, not mixing with other people, keeping social distance, when he was advocating for all of that, every one of these idiots kept their mouths shut on Twitter. It wasn't until the previous clip where he's in the White House press briefing room saying that kind of stuff that they felt free to get out there and talk. Why wouldn't this work? Open up the economy and let young and healthy people work and feed themselves and their family. It's because they're going to contract the disease. Matt Walsh blog. Mr. Under the Thumb of Ben Shapiro. It's because then they will contract the disease and then transmit the disease. This is an invisible threat. You dipshit. Come on, bro. And then finally, Jesse Kelly, DC, tweeted, and again, to his credit, didn't delete it like Buck Sexton the coward. I gotta be honest. You know it's gonna be good when someone starts telling you they gotta be honest, because normally they're a filthy liar. But now, on this particular occasion, God, I gotta force myself to be honest. I gotta be honest. I'm weirded out by this whole thing. Wow, this is quite an intellectual screed. Is there another time in history when a country purposefully destroyed its own economy? I'm not talking about mistakes or bad policies or a war. I'm talking about purposely pointing at its citizens and barring them from work. As though there's not a root cause of this. As though it's not, we're forced to do this. The world is forced to do this. Italy and France and Spain and China and other countries aren't forced to do this. We're choosing willy-nilly to destroy our economy. We're putting lives first is what we're doing. Jesse Kelly, Matt Walsh, coward, Buck Sexton. Another clown shoe that worked his way out of the woodwork is Dan Patrick. Not the CNN or the ESPN Dan Patrick, or is he formerly CNN or ESPN Dan Patrick? It's Texas Lieutenant Governor Pinhead Dan Patrick, who went on Fox News with white supremacist Tucker Carlson and said this.
Living in fear of is what's happening to this country. And, you know, Tucker, no one reached out to me and said, as a senior citizen, are you willing to take a chance on your survival in exchange for keeping the America that all America loves for your children and grandchildren? And if that's the exchange, I'm all in. And that doesn't make me noble or brave or anything like that. I just think there are lots of grandparents out there in this country, like me, I have 6 grandchildren, that what we all care about and what we love more than anything are those children. And I want to, you know, live smart and see through this, but I don't want the whole country to be sacrificed. And that's what I see. I've talked to hundreds of people, Tucker, and just in the last week, and making calls all the time. And everyone says pretty much the same thing, that we can't lose our whole country. We're having an economic collapse. I'm also a small businessman. I understand it. And I talk with business people all the time, Tucker. And my heart is lifted tonight by what I heard the president say, because we can do more than, you know, one thing at a time. We can do 2 things. So, you know, my message is that let's get back to work. Let's get back to living. Let's be smart about it. And those of us who are 70 plus, we'll take care of ourselves, but don't sacrifice the country. Don't do that. Don't ruin this great American dream.
You're basically saying that this disease could take your life, but that's not the scariest thing to you. There's something that would be worse than dying.
Yeah.
So he's willing to sacrifice those who are 70 plus. Not sacrifice himself because he's a rich guy with a security detail and he can always be taken care of and shielded from other people. And he's well-to-do. He's not living hand to mouth. He's not living paycheck to paycheck. He's Dan Patrick. He's the lieutenant governor of the state of Texas. Those of us who are 70 plus will take care of ourselves. Apparently, he's speaking for every single economic facet, every single individual in every bracket of life. Speaking for those on a fixed income, he is. That we'll take care of ourselves, but don't sacrifice the country. He means economy. Don't sacrifice the country. Don't do that. Don't ruin this great American dream. Get the f*** out of here, Dan Patrick. You goon. You ghoul. And then Tucker Carlson says, and you just heard it, I know I'm repeating it, so there's something that would be worse than dying? Yep, there sure would. Apparently, temporarily maintaining a stay-at-home quarantine type situation in order to prevent the virus from spreading in an immeasurable, historic fashion. We should send everybody out to work, let the curve go crazy, possibly millions of Americans dying. Because economy. Let me show you what real leadership is, especially related to this matter right here, especially related to this matter of the economy versus public health. Here's Andrew Cuomo, the governor of the state of New York. His state, by the way, has 10 times the level of infections than any other state in the union. This is what leadership is, right here.
I want to make a point on the president's point about the economy and public health. I understand what the president is saying. This is unsustainable that we close down the economy and we continue to spend money. There is no doubt about that. No one is going to argue about that. But if you ask the American people to choose between public health and the economy, then it's no contest. No American is going to say, accelerate the economy at the cost of human life. Because no American is going to say how much a life is worth. Job one has to be save lives.
And once again, I'm going to repeat the quote because it bears repeating. If you ask the American people to choose between public health and the economy, then it's no contest. Because no American is going to say, they're not going to say to accelerate the cost, the economy at the cost of human life, because no American is going to say how much a life costs, how much a life is worth. The government's number one job is to protect life. What's the common phrase, that the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? How can you have liberty or pursue happiness when you don't have a life? And that's what we face right now. Clowns like Donald Trump taken to Fox News. By the way, none of this talk was even around about reopening things until he started taking a financial hit in several of his top earning resorts that are in Florida and New York and New Jersey, where they're doing the right thing. Mandated social distancing, mandated people to stay at home. And because he's taken a hit now, he's singing a different tune. Because Donald Trump doesn't care about you. He certainly doesn't care about me. He cares about wealthy people. He cares about CEOs. He cares about business. He doesn't care about poor people, the immunocompromised, elderly, people on fixed incomes. He does not care. If he did care, and I'm not even talking about this particular situation we find ourselves in right now, if he did care, he wouldn't be trying to force cuts to entitlement programs. He wouldn't be trying to cut Medicare and Medicaid. He would not be trying to cut SNAP benefits where hungry children rely on those benefits. But because he blew his wad on his tax cut, and we're running $1 and $1.5 trillion deficits every single year when he said he'd be able to pay off our entire national debt inside of 2 terms, 8 years. Because of that, look where we are. I've been railing about these deficits. Unnecessary deficits. Listen, when you're in times of emergency, like the economic collapse in 2008, like right now with what we're facing with this pandemic, that's when you try to salvage things. And that's when deficit spending is okay, because it's an emergency predicament. But when things are great, your GDP is awesome, manufacturing is great, unemployment is down, that's not when you run deficits. And that is exactly what Donald Trump has done. That is exactly why he has imperiled our economy in a way that no other president has done. He didn't plan for something unexpected. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. Please call, email. All of that is fantastic. This should be a conversation. The other thing is, if you are able to, you're in a financial situation to support and produce this content, this independent content, I would appreciate if you consider doing so. Click the join button down below on the video. If you're on an iPhone, I'm not sure if the join button is there yet. You might have to go to the desktop. But for $1.99, there's a couple different tiers, but for $1.99 a month, you can really do something major to support independent media and independent voices just like this. And there's no more important time than right now for voices like mine, but also like other independent media creators. Look, if you like somebody better than me, support that person. I'm going to go. I love you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for joining me and joining in the conversation. It's important that we together move this conversation forward. Talk about the research and the data and the facts and be good to each other.